Hey, how are you? It's Allan. Welcome back. So in the last video, I talked a little bit about stress. Mechanically, like what is it? How do our bodies and our brains produce stress? And how does it impact us? Now I want to talk a little bit about how you can take control over your stress instead of your stress taking control of you. And let's face it, most of the time when we have stressful times in our lives, you got to ask yourself, when stress hits us or if it hits you, are you usually in a position where you go, okay, you know what? I know it's there. I can handle it. I'm just going to take it. I'm going to, do something with it. Or do you end up usually feeling like, oh my God, this is taking over my brain, my life, my mind, and I don't really know how to push through it. If you're that kind of person, then this video is for you. And if you're not that kind of person, if you are that kind of person that says, you know what? No, I got my stress. I know how to handle my stress. This may still be the video for you because you may know some other people that are in your life that don't know how to manage their stress and would really appreciate some tips or just some tricks on how to manage it so they can control their emotions instead of their emotions controlling them. So it really breaks down to a handful of steps and mindsets, okay? And I'm going to outline them each so you get an understanding of what I'm talking about. And if you got any questions on what I'm explaining, feel free to message me direct, all right? So it breaks down to a handful of steps. Step number one, when it comes to controlling your own stress, the first thing that we've got to do is we have to believe that we have the ability to take it over or to control it or to manage it. And belief, as simple as that sounds, like somebody told me that a while ago and I thought, no way, like just that first step, you got to be kidding me, right? Like what are you talking about? Belief is more than just a mindset. It's an actual biochemical change that happens in our brain. Think about it. Think about the way you feel, for example, when you look at a problem or a challenge or something that you got to face and you just know, either from personal experience, past experience, or just from seeing your friends or somebody that you know manage it, that you can look at that problem and be like, you know what? No, I got this. Like, I got this. Think about the way you feel. Think about your physiology. Think about how your body posture is. Think about your confidence. Think about how you look and feel about that situation and ask yourself, do you feel more confident? Do you feel less? Do you feel stronger or do you feel weaker? Do you feel more sure, more certain? Or do you feel like everything's just going to be out of your control? How we feel is an actual biochemical makeup in our bodies and in our brains. The same goes when we're operating from a place of uncertainty or when we're just not sure or when we just don't know exactly how something's going to fall out or come together. That's also a biochemical change that's in our brains too. So in other words, if you learn to believe in yourself, in the fact that you might not get the answers right away, but you'll get them over time if you really hack at it. Like if you really just put it in the back of your brain that, okay, I'm not getting my answers now, but I'm going to figure this out. It might take me a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a year. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I know eventually I'm going to figure this out. That's an actual chemical change in your brain. So the first step is you got to learn how to activate the belief in yourself that eventually you'll get past your problems. Step number two, once you install that belief, the next thing that you've got to have is a clear visualization of how your problem shows up in your head. For example, one of the clients that I just had recently was telling me that they were having issues with some close relatives. Without getting into too much detail, because it's something I was asked to keep to myself. I asked my client, I said, okay, so how does that show up for you? Like what goes on in your mind when you imagine this problem or this individual? And at first they didn't really know how to answer that. But after a couple of minutes of talking with them, they realized, okay, so when I think about my problem, I have this image that's like bigger than life. It's 3 times the size. It's right up in my face. It's in color and it's moving. And I can hear this person saying these things to me over and over and over and over again. So in other words, all of us, whether good or bad, in this case, we're talking about technically bad. You're talking about stress that we got to learn to manage. All of us create an image in our minds of what that stress looks like. A lot of times, when you have belief installed and you can recognize what we call submodalities, or another word for that is the pieces of what an image looks like how it comes together. Like in terms of size, in terms of clarity, in terms of if it's moving or still. When you realize and recognize what those things are, you can actually reverse them. And when you reverse them in your head enough times, you can actually start to change the way you feel about that problem that's making you feel stressed. So going back to my example, my client was telling me that she imagines this individual that's larger than her, that's big and bright right up to her face. And the first thing I said to her is I said, look, okay, get that picture clear in your head. Let that person get right up to your face. And instead of seeing them in black, in color, I want you to see them in shades of black, white, and blue. And she was kind of like, what do you mean black, white, and blue? Like, and it was a little bit tough at first because we're not used to doing this kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, with enough belief, you can make yourself believe anything. It's amazing what the mind will do to change the way it perceives things. Her memory of that individual, I asked her to shift her memory. I asked her to shift the experience. So instead of seeing color, she's now seeing shades. I asked her to take parts of that memory and turn it blue with black and white. I asked her to take the life-size image that was in her head and shrink it to something so small that she could put it in her hand. Then I asked her to take that memory and start flashing it, black and white, black and white, black and white, in and out, almost like a broken TV. At first, it was confusing, which obviously it would be because how many people ask you to do that kind of stuff? But after a couple of times of doing that, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, she started to notice that the stress that was in her body, that heaviness that was in her chest, that drop pit feeling that's in her stomach, it started to dissipate, it started to shrink. And even though we ended up doing more work with, well, me and her would start doing more work together in order to get her to that place of just feeling neutral, the beginning portion of making that change started with the image that went in her head. So to close up this video, because again, I don't want to make it too long, but I want to give you a little insight on what you could do. Let's just break this down, okay? Talking about dealing with your stress, you want to know how to handle it, how to manage it. Here it is, lump sum. Number 1, identify your stress in terms of the situation and play it like a short YouTube video clip. Find the moment where it starts to really make you feel stressed, and then find the moment when the stress starts to decline. Find that block of time that makes you feel the most stressed. Step number 2, once you found that, you've got to learn to believe that you're going to figure out a way to get over it, to get through it, to get around it, to solve it, to just get it out of your system or your life, or find a way to utilize it as fuel, as drive to get that handled, move to that next step that you got to take in order to whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. Get your business going, get that new life partner, start that new job, ask for that new raise, whatever it is that's stressing you out. Use it as a fuel source, as an emotional drive. Step number 3, you then take the pieces of what creates that memory or that thought. Notice the size, notice the height, notice how close it is to you, notice the colors, notice the sounds, and start to play with the image in your head, either with eyes open or eyes closed. And don't just do it once, don't do it twice, and definitely don't do it like, okay, well, I'm just going to try this thing. Like, no, if you're going to go there, just shut off this video, don't even bother doing this, because it's not going to help. Remember, your brain will follow whatever it is you make it determined to do. So if you are determined to feel stressed, guess what? You're going to feel stressed. If you're determined to find a way out of that, your brain will find a way. And this is a road path, a beginning road path to helping you get what you want. So recognize the way that your mind puts it together, and then change the shape. Number 1, if the thought is right here, push it out 20 feet. If it's that big, shrink it down. If it's in full color, make it black and white. If it's clear as a bell, make it blurry, or flash it in and out inside your mind. Don't do it once, don't do it twice. Do it 20, 30, 40 times. You can do it literally 30 times in like 2 to 3 minutes. Now, oh man, Allan, what are you kidding me? 2 to 3 minutes? That's a lot. Look, if it's something that's really stressing you out, 2 to 3 minutes. Are you kidding me? Like, don't even take something like this like lightly if you feel that the stress is really starting to hold you back on getting what you want. 2 to 3 minutes is worth it if it's going to make a benefit in your life. And those techniques, I got to tell you, like, these aren't even my techniques. These are techniques that have been designed from the 60s and 70s that have been used by thousands of people. It's so simple, but it's so effective. And I promise, if you'll give it a chance, if you'll try it, test it, and really give it some effort, you'll already start to notice that maybe, if you got a level 10 stress, it might just drop to a 7. If it's already at a 7, it might drop to a 6, 5. As it starts to drop, you might start to notice that there's other things that you can do with the thought or memory to even make it less stressful. You might even find a solution on how to handle your problem if you allow yourself the ability to bring your stress down. Now, I know I went through a lot here. I get a little excited about this kind of stuff because it's stuff I live for. If I went too fast, watch it again. If you've got questions that you want to ask me, feel free to just shout out. All my contact info is down below, so feel free to reach out to me. But let me know how well or how this didn't. I'm assuming it did, though, because it did for 20, 30 people in the past week that I managed to help out. Let me know how this works for you, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.